Okay, well this is the final stage of this demonstration, how to paint buildings. That's the subject, that's the drawing I had on the paper to start. This is the final stage. We've got the basics down, it's just the finishing touches really, and quite often they are the key. They really do make a picture, and really you need there again a fairly large brush for this, reasonable size. Wet the brush, and I'm going to paint the shadow on the building first. It's all about giving a 3D. It's all quite flat at the moment. You've got tones within the slate or the tiles and the wall, but you've got no corner here. You know, one of those walls would be darker than the other. Now if I had the sun coming from behind and that was all in shadow, the focal point would be on that wall, which doesn't have any interest. So I always have a light coming from the side, and the front of the building, which would most cases the area of interest, would hold all the light. So that would then be in shadow. That stands away. At the moment it looks flat on the roof, but when you put a shadow there, all of a sudden that throws it away. Same with the windows. Anyway, let me show you. So ultramarine with, tell you what I'm going to use, alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson, could be rose madder. It's pinky. It's a pinky red, and I'm going to not add too much red, so I'm looking for a purple mix, fairly strong. Now I would say you can go too strong, but in watercolour it dries so much lighter, so I hope I've got the right tone. The back edge of the chimney, there like that. The left hand side of the chimney is in shadow, and there is a small shadow running under the overhang of that brickwork there, and all of a sudden the chimney stands, got a bit of form to it. Okay, so that's that. Let's just get over that so I can see that. Right, next comes the shadow the chimney cast on the roof, which runs up that way like that. Go. So all of a sudden the chimney stands away from the roof. Then the roof then, as I said, this gable end stands away, so we will have a casting shadow running across like that and back in to the corner, and that denotes that all of a sudden stands away. Now the angle of that will depend on the sunlight. If the sun is low, the angle would be quite flat. If the sun is high, then it would be quite an acute angle. But this I'm going to have at a reasonable sort of midday point, late summer perhaps. Then we're looking for a shadow from the overhang of the gutter, and that would run across there like that. Nice. Don't be afraid to be deep with your shadows. And see how I've stopped there, because, and that would have an angle there, just like that, because, got to remember, there's a break, but there is the gutter, and that's what you can see there. Allow that to dry, don't overwork that. Now the reveal of the door sits back. At the moment it looks dead flush, but this door has a surround and it sits back, so we're going to have a shadow down there, and of course the sun is high, so it's going to be across the top, the shadow. Same with the windows, down the left hand side, across the top, down the left, across the top. There, all of a sudden the windows sit back. Underneath I'm going to have a shadow where the sill is. Not painted the sill in, but let's just put a line underneath, because that will be where the sill is. Now I'm going to add a bit of yellow now to call back that shadow, because, oh, and a small shadow there like that, and the overhanging tiles Notice how I've not gone right up to the red. I've left a little bit of white because that's where the pointing is of the tiles above. Then I'm going to paint in the shadow on this gable end, and that covers that complete area. When you paint these shadows, bit of gutter as well at the back there, paint them quickly and leave them. And where it touches the grass, just make it uneven. Try not to overwork them, because once you do it, particularly with Bockingford, you can lift off the paint underneath, and that then you don't get that transparency that we're looking for. Good. Now I'm going to paint the green. So for this, we use ultramarine with cadmium yellow. It's a different green to what I used for the green itself, but it's a blue-green, and that's what I expect from a shadow. Okay, now could be that this building casts a shadow across the back at an angle and across that area there. Obviously the shadow would run across from the building like that, and it can be uneven because this grass is quite uneven and it extends to there. Could even take up the bottom of those posts. There we are, so that's the shadow from the building. Then we have the shadow from the edge of the path. Now you'd see it there, but you wouldn't see it here. That gradually disappear around the corner. You would see it here, but you wouldn't see it there because the sun's on that. You'd see it here, just a little bit of where the tufts of grass are. Notice how I'm not using spiky. I'm using quite flat brush technique, and that is my way of doing it. You could use a spiky effect, and notice I'm making it smaller as I go away into the distance, because that's vital too. You don't want to, that is the idea of perspective, smaller as you go away. Also, let's put just a little bit of shadow on this hedging there, and it will also help to show up the corner of that building better. And a little bit of shadow running across and down the side of the building. There we are, from trees and hedging out of picture. There we are. That denotes that quite successfully. It's all to give a bit of atmosphere to the building. Good. Now I'm going to put some of this shadow work, blue and yellow, cadmium and ultramarine. I'm going to put a little bit in the underside of this hedge there, like that. Now we won't really see a great deal of shadow from the tree because the shadow would be on the field itself, so that's not a major problem that we need to look at. Nice to have a bit more shadow in this foreground, so I'm just running across with one or two little touches here just to give a bit of texture to this foreground. Always nice to add just a little bit of something going on there, and I'm going to weaken that considerably because I want to add a little bit of this texture on the grass there, a little bit there, and perhaps one or two little tufts there that may show a little variation of tone. You can always scratch it across if it's with the finger if it gets a little bit too lively. So well, there you go. It's pretty much. And finally, I've not used that colour green on the track, so I need to mix a nice purpley brown colour or dark brown colour as the shadow. We've got the shadow there and there and there. Could be a large tree stand here casting a shadow from that side, but of course we need to bring that across like that, and as it goes to the outside edge it would break up, so you have little gaps, and that then tends to run down to there. Don't have any light at that point. doesn't matter if you just bring that up and just blend that in. And then 1 or 2 little flecks and 1 or 2 little touches along the edge. It just shows that the bank has a bit of height to it if you shadow that like that. Bring that out, there you go. A bit of height to that bank. Well, pretty much all we really need to do, I think. As I say, always, once you've finished your subject, or at least getting towards the end, it may be tomorrow morning that perhaps you look at something, and I've spotted something already that I think I ought to just sharpen. We just lost the corner of that building, so I'm just going to put that in with a line. Just going to line up. Here we are. There's another little tip. There's a lintel, so just hint that we've got that lintel stands away, that an edge to that tiling there, to that just a little extra hint of deeper shadow in the corner there. 1 or 2 little touch, and may have a step, so just pull that across just to show a little step. And as I say, but at this stage you need to think about signing. Now there may be 1 or 2 little touches in the morning, but as far as I'm concerned, there's a little study of a building that probably works well. You sign it. I always sign it in the paint that I've used these days. Pencil is okay, but I do like to sign it in the paint that I've used, as I say, these days. And then, to complete it, I take off the tape, which actually gives us a lovely edging, and you can see the composition so much better. You know, it never quite looks the same until you either mount it, or in this case, that's more or less mounting it really, just by pulling that tape away. So there you go. That is the second of this how to paint video, painting building in a landscape. Get the brushes out one day and look at the 3 stages. Start off with the tree one that I've painted earlier on my page. That gives you a good idea of a basic landscape. I'll run you through the stages of that. Then attempt this building. On the next one, maybe looking at water reflections. But as I say, get those brushes wet and have a go yourself. Thank you for watching.